Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel BBC World News. In today's video, we'll share it with you latest news. Assad gone, Trump coming. What's Ukraine future? Bashar al-Assad power crumbled after allies abandoned him, forcing him to flee on Russia. Soon after, US President Donald Trump claims he can end the Ukraine war quickly but lacks a clear plan. His strategy of pressuring both sides risks repeating past failure, like his deal with the Taliban, which led to chaos in Afghanistan. Wars can end practically overnight. Just look at Syria, which was locked in a civil war for a uprising. Al-Assad seemed to track to become a tyrant for life. Then, in the space of couple weeks, his allies effectively dissented him. His army melted away, and he has family to decamp the Kremlin. Vladimir Putin is already in the Kremlin, so that days he can't escape of the thing in Russia go through. Unlike Assad, he doesn't face rebel enemy, but he should still be worried given Russia loses on the battlefield, in geopolitics, and throughout the economy. How long will it be before Putin and Assad both have no leave town to take up president? The last refuge of scandal. No patriotism as Samuel Johnson instituted, but Rhino gang. That's certainly not what Donald Trump meant when he said it would end the war in Ukraine on day of its administration. Was not talking about helping Ukraine retake its occupied territory, participating in a regime change in Russia, and sending Putin into exile. That was the old Republican Party, which was anti-Russian to its core. The new mega party with an illiberal agenda that overlaps with Putin does not have foreign policy so much as an arsenal of threats. No surprise then that Trump's concept of plan for ending the Ukraine war seems to consist only for simultaneous threat designed to push the two sides to come to the table and negotiate a case war. The problem is that Putin is no hurry, no compromise. Oblivious to implication of Assad defeat, Russia continued to press its advantages in Ukraine. In November, it seized nearly 11 square miles of Ukraine territory every day, but these gains have come at a huge cost, over 45,000 total casualties over the same period. The need to bring in 10,000 North Korean soldiers in the Russia side suggests that these casualties are taking their role. Other signs of Russia's disappearance, including the astronomically singing bounces, prisoner amputee because of drug and conscript, and all the Indian and Yemenis striking into fighting in Ukraine. The Russia economy, meanwhile, it's starting to buckle with inflation running over 9%, the interest rate about 21%, and rampant labor shortage resulting from all the young men in the army in exile are toiling in military industry. Putin soldier on regardless at the top of his wish list. He wants to kick Ukrainian troops out of the Russian territory it sees around Kursk. Next, he wants of Luhansk and Donetsk provinces controlled almost of all the former, but only around two-thirds of the latter. Putin's list goal is to intensify the Ukrainian government by installing its own Kremlin-friendly regime and disarming the country so that it doesn't pose any future threat to Russia. The Ukrainians have dug in their heel in the hopes that Putin will eventually scale back to save his own regime. Even holding the line much cell, regaining occupied territory has become increasingly difficult. Ukraine is struggling so much with its own shortage of soldiers that Volodymyr Zelensky has been talking about trading land for peace. Such a case fire would give territory to the Russian, but Ukraine would reserve the right or regain the land in a diplomatic way. Despite his willingness to compromise on territory, Zelensky is not giving up. He is getting another $1 billion military assistance from the Biden administration as it going away present. A $15 billion loan collateralized on the interest on Russia assessed frozen in the West is on the horizon, which is United States already allocating its share of $20 billion to bring is enough troops to stop Russian advances. The Ukrainian government may consider further lowering the conscription age. Trump and his minions think they can force both sides to compromise on the disputed territory. That's criminal misunderstanding of the US government. After all, this war is not primarily about territory, it's about ideology. Putin has a illiberal vision that puts Russia at the center of a new anti-Western axis that contests everything from international law to LGBT rights. Zelensky has been thrust into the somewhat uncomfortable position of representing Western value of democracy and human rights. Ukrainians have a more fundamental fear that an occupying force will throw them in jail, destroy the culture, or execute them in cold blood as in Bucha and elsewhere. Throwing Donald Trump into this mix is like setting off a bomb in the middle of life and death struggle. Maybe in the chaos and confusion after the explosion, everyone will throw down their weapon. Or maybe they'll just ignore the bomb throw, pick themselves up, and fight on with renewed vigor. Neither side heroic the statement that the two Koreas experienced in the final 2 years of the war. So don't bet on armistice taking place on January 21, 2025. Trump concept of a plan. In the world, according to Trump, Russia invaded Ukraine because America was weak. Thus, to resolve the crisis, America must be strong again. That's the essence of the plan from the trunk involved. Seth Kellogg, the United States will threaten to stop all aid to Ukraine to push it to the negotiating table. And to Russia, it will threaten to increase aid to Ukrainian to get the Kremlin no negotiate. immediate NATO membership for Ukraine would be off the table. But Putin knows that plenty of Republicans and the Constituent who put them into office just want the United States to stop sending money to Ukraine under any circumstance. So Putin can safely resist the pressure and then sit back to watch the Republican Party tear itself to shreds over the issue. Putin also knows the dialogue really feels. A war born in American weakness can only be ended by American strength. Trump's future in war wrote in testimony to Senate hearing last year. That's why the path to bringing negotiation about is to enable Ukraine to defeat the Russia army in Ukraine and provide Ukrainian with the military armament it needs to. That explain the Russia response to the plan so far. Kellogg comes to Moscow with his plan. We take it and then tell him to screw himself because we did not like any of it. Putin ally Konstantin Molofeyev told the Financial Times that we hold the whole negotiation. The Russians also know how Trump handled negotiation with the Taliban. In this eagerness to withdraw US troops, President Transactional basically sold out the Afghan government, and in the word of his own national security advisor HR Messmaster signed a surrender agreement with the Taliban with a deadline for US withdrawal and no implementation mechanism to hold the Taliban to its promises. Trump said the condition that led to the disaster the Biden administration had to deal with several months into its first year. Having promised to end the war and stop sending money plus arms to Ukraine, Trump may well find itself in a similar diplomatic quandary with Ukraine in 2025. He might make promise to Kyiv resemble war he gave the Taliban. Ukrainian at least know how that will end. Actually, it's hard to imagine anyone getting enthusiastic about an Afghan-like peace in Ukraine. A terrible peace has settled over Afghanistan, the peace of the morgue and the jail cell, and that's precisely the kind of peace that occupied Russian terrorists in Ukraine currently enjoy. What can Ukraine do? The United States offered Ukrainians the most ornaments, but it was not the only supplier in town. European allies have pledged to pick up the slack, with Germany leading the way. European leaders are reportedly trying to persuade the incoming Trump administration to keep supplying Ukraine for at least one more year. One more year, that's probably what Russia has the resources for it. Increasingly, its military spending tremendously for 2025. But then the budget start to fall over the next 2 years if the Russian economy really goes off the rails of a result of the war. The Russians will abandon their love affair with Putin. Zelensky land for peace deal is an interim option. Ukrainians may have to settle for some vague promises of NATO accession and some current security guarantees in the form of weaponry to deter another Russian invasion. Russia can be armed twisted to negotiate or persuaded by the promise of sanction relief. Ukraine will probably have to swallow some kind of land for peace deal, and next year's at that will be after Russia seized Crimea and parts of the Donbass back in 2040. He compared Ukrainian situation to that of Aaron Ralston, a hiker found himself trapped in a remote location with his arm pinned by the boulder. Ultimately, he decided to amputate his arm in order to survive. If Ukraine wants to move on with its aspiration to move closer to the West, it probably have no to submit to the knife as well. I wrote, because after many years of international isolation, lukewarm Russian support and economic stagnation, the ghost limbs might themselves appeal for detachment. This is not for fair. Of course, Russia has been playing a dirty game, but no one ever said that geopolitics is fair. The situation that we have around Rastan was not fair either. Sometimes you have to do what's necessary to survive, even if it means cutting away what you hold dear. Now, a decade later, the situation is more disparate and even more unfair, but Putin could very well be living on borrowed time. Just like Assad for the last dozen years, Russia is not all-powerful. The implosion of its colossal Syria, and neither is Putin. The quagmire of Afghanistan set in motion the collapse of the Soviet Union. The war game of Ukrainian may well spread the of the Putin Russian world. Then the residents of the Donbass and Crimea will be like Ukraine, safely settled in the European Union to welcome them back. At your daily close of entertainment, subscribe today for new videos every day. Thanks for watching. For more, have a nice time. Goodbye.